Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to another segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. The recitation is Asa Mahalla Chotha, composition of the fourth Nanak in the Rag Asa, and the recitation. Asa Mahalla Chotha, Gun Gava, Gun Boli Bani, Gurmukhe Har Gun Aakh Vakhani, Jap Jap Naam Man Bhaya Ananda, Sat Sat Satgur Naam Dridaya, Ras Gaye Gun Parmananda Rahao, Har Gun Gave, Har Jan Loga, Vade Pag Paye Har Nirjoga, Gun Vihun Maya Maltari, Vin Gun Janam Mue Ahankari, Sarir Sarovar Gun Pargat Kiye, Nanak Gurmukh Math Tat Kadiye, Sarir Sarovar Gun Pargat Kiye, Nanak Gurmukh Math Tat Ki Kadiye. The instruction on Naam, self-knowledge for our purposes here, continues. Guruji is expanding on what he has said in the previous passages, namely the process of Naam, what Naam Japi, Naam Japna, and the use of the term Naam itself in various contexts. He's instructing us. And he says, I sing to the qualities of the self, Gun Gava. I recite the qualities of the self, Gun Boli Bani. And I was able to do this by turning to good wisdom. And it was then that I was able to articulate the qualities of the self, Har Gun Aakh Vakhani. Gurmukh Har Gun Aakh Vakhani. Aakh Vakhani is to say, to speak, to display. Gurmukh. So it was by turning to the Guru that I was able to articulate these qualities. So what we see here is that the Har Self has to be approached first and foremost through the articulation of speech, whether it is through song or word. And we know that singing or kirtan and recitation of Gurbani are, for Sikhs, meditative tools that transform us from the inside out and are very much an essential part of Sikh practice. In the Rahao, Jap Jap Naam Man Bhaya Ananda, the Guru is repeating this message over and over again through the process of meditation on Naam. And we have to be careful on what meditation really implies. But for our purposes, it is a holistic practice that includes kirtan, that includes ucharan, recitation, that includes contemplation, that includes reflection, that includes jap as well. All of this adds up, and then the mind is filled with bliss. Man bhaya ananda. And the Guru says, in order for me to remain firm in my resolve, dridhata, you need a guide, the true Guru, the Satguru, who's also the primal enlightener. So the Guru says, it is the primal enlightener, the Satguru, who deepened my resolve to awaken to the self. Satguru, Naam Dridaya. And it is then that the mellowing of the mind happened, softening of the mind. What is implied here by mellowing is that the hardcore conditioning of the mind, the ego, begins to soften through this process. So the Guru says the mellowing of the mind came through singing and reciting the qualities of the Supreme Selves. ras gaye gun paramananda. So you see, articulation through speech over and over again, singing of kirtan over and over again, begins to knead at ego consciousness. The mind begins to mellow. So the mellowing of the mind is a necessary precondition to experiencing the supreme bliss of Paramananda. So the maturation process of Nam Japi leads to a mellowing of the mind, ras. Har gun gave, har jan loga, vade bhag paye, har nirjoga, from niyoga, which means authority, although this word has been erroneously, I think, translated as the self who is without attachment. What it means is hukam, really. Har gun gave, har jana loga, the servants of the self, people who are devoted to the self, concentrate and focus on developing qualities of the self. Har gun gave. Gave can be taken literally as singing, and it can also mean absorption. It can mean the process of absorbing, understanding. So the Guru says, servants of the self, they are people of great destiny. Vade bhag paye har nirjoga, because they follow the command of the self. Paye har nirjoga. So they're in harmony with the self. They're attuned to hukam. That's the gift they get. And what happens to those who are without virtue? Guna vihun, without virtue, a reference to the ego. Guna vihun maya malatari. The ego is smeared with the dust of worldly entanglements, impurities, impediments to self-realization. Vinaguna, without cultivating the virtues of the self, janamamue ahankari, one dies in self-conceit. Self-conceit is that fog of ignorance that envelopes the mind. And what happens then if you stay in that state, in that position, the opportunity of a lifetime is wasted. Janamambue ahankari. So an undeveloped or an immature mind remains impeded by the shadow of Maya, the entanglements of the world. And Maya it is that creates the ego in the first place, and then it casts a shadow over the self. This is referred to as mal, or dirt, that pollutes and contaminates our vision. And in the end, the Guru talks about sarir sarovar, gun pargat kiye, to pull out, to extract from the waters the ocean of virtue within. This is a reference to the churning of the ocean in Hindu mythology that resulted in extracting of 14 specific essences or qualities. But the Guru is saying, manifest or homogenize those divine qualities by churning the ocean of virtue that is within, a reference to the self. And Nanak declares that the Gur-guided, the Gurmukh, finds its essence by churning the wisdom of the Guru. Nanak Gurmukh mat tat khadai. On that note, Vaheguru Ji ka